It's got some power.
Get some attention.
It's got battery in it.
Man,
Yeah, it's got battery
it's
in
my
it.
anniversary and I'm sitting here with you.
It's your anniversary?
19 years.
Oh, gosh.
Julie, she's at home with surgery stuff. So.
Yeah.
Everyone, let's please
Where am I?
get together.
Get it together.
I see this evening we have 4 members of the committee present. Ms. Cazzo, are you staying for this?
Maybe not all night, but I'll be here some.
You'll be here some. We have Councilman Travis Turner, who's attending to his father's birthday this evening, who vacated. So let's wish Judge Turner a happy birthday. I'm sure he's in his 30s.
Absolutely.
And hopefully he remembers I made that comment next time I'm in front of him. With that being the case, Coach, would you lead us in the invocation?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's bow our heads. Heavenly Father, as we come at this hour in the evening, take care of parish business, we ask, Lord, that you would continue to bless each of us under the sound of our voice. Pray, Lord, that you would guide us through this night tonight as we continue to look forward to better things in this parish of Ascension. I ask, Lord, that you bless each and every person under the sound of my voice. Lord God, as we leave this place tonight, we ask that you allow each of us to get home safe to our families. In your name we pray. God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We all say amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Chair has no additions this evening. Is there any public comment? Next would be the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Opposition? Approval of the minutes passed. Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. I just wanted to let you know that last time we talked about having, some of you come and visit the utility department. We don't thank Chairman, Ogeron for coming, and we still want to open that opportunity to as many of you as possible. There are a lot of things going on, utility, a lot of things that we're discussing, so we want to make sure that you have the opportunity to be up to date on everything that's going on and what we're doing, both in water, wastewater, those kind of things. So again, I just offer up that opportunity for you to participate. You schedule any time, it'd be great.
Thank you, sir. Item 7, general business. Water report. Mr. Fleming.
Evening, council committee members. Once again, this is our same monthly report that we give. This is used to track leaks, water loss, flushing, and it produces a total report for how much water has been produced and how much water has been billed out for that month. If y'all like for me to read through it again, but the short of it is, in January, there was a net of 3.2 million gallons of water that was in excess for the system.
Got a question. Last time we discussed the water issues, you were describing to the committee the various types of outdated pipes that we have on the ground.
Yes, sir.
How are we working to replace those? What are we using?
So that was basically the next item. The USDA report kind of
Perfect.
goes into addressing the all of the stuff with was going into the USDA report with the water pipe replacement and everything like that. Currently, it's as leaks happen, we repair them. We repair as much section that is necessary to keep the water moving. The limit, we don't do any real shutdowns of the water because that would cause us to go into an advisory. So right now it's all mostly just patching clamps, replacing small sections of pipe if we have to valve it off, like what happened a couple weeks ago.
Are we getting, or are we seeking any federal funds to assist us with changing out those pipes?
We actively, the USDA grant was our federal funding. It's, once again, in the next report, I don't remember what the numbers were exactly, but it's roughly a $17.8 million project. I think it's 7.5 was going to be for the plant, and then the remaining 9.6, somewhere in that neighborhood, was going to be for replacing and repairing line work.
Okay. And the reason I ask is last week, Coach and I, and other members of I think everybody sitting up here actually, attended the NACO Legislative Conference. Coach and I met with some individuals from HUD. I actually was fortunate enough, I was in the right place at the right time and actually got about 5 minutes to talk with Dr. Ben Carson. So it was a great opportunity for us to be there. But we were talking with individuals at HUD regarding the water system, and they advised us that there were a number of opportunities through them for us to start pursuing, particularly the situation and the conditions we're dealing with the West Bank and with Donaldsonville. Everybody in Washington likes good press.
Yes.
And I think the opportunity is, if we start pushing for that, we need to rise like Phoenix, from the ashes. I think we have a good opportunity for HUD. And I see Director Dawson stepping up to the microphone, so I think he's got some comments for us.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And I was in some of those meetings and talked to some of those people because they initially had those tables where you could speak to them, and you're absolutely right. There's some funding that we're looking at for that time perspective. So I also attended the infrastructure caucus meeting when they talked about infrastructure needs throughout, including water, including wastewater. There's funding on grants that will be upcoming even more so in 2021. So the goal is to have shovel-ready projects so that you can have them. So we're looking at all those possibilities, and you're absolutely right. They seem to be focused a little bit more on infrastructure and getting funding out for that purpose through HUD, which also start dealing with some of the mod to low income, which a lot of things on the West Bank could apply for, and as well as other infrastructure grants that would handle other areas. So I agree with you, sir, and we're definitely looking into them.
Perfect. Thank you all so very much for what you're doing. Item 7C, illicit discharge.
Okay, so the illicit discharge, this is, sorry, I'm trying to follow along with my digital copy, and okay. So this is the ordinance that we are proposing to put in place. As you know, the parish falls under an MS4 permit, which requires us to have certain goals about dumping raw waste into bayous and streams, construction debris, not having silt fences, not having your proper stormwater management plan in place. This ordinance is something that's, as part of our original permit, is something that they say we need to have some language in our ordinances that allow us to kind of enforce these violations. So this ordinance allows us to enforce non-compliance. And our guys that do our stormwater inspections, they go out, they make sure they try to get them to work with them to say, hey, look, we noticed that your silt fence is down. You're pumping into a stream or a creek that doesn't have any sort of stormwater management, whether it's hay bales, wattles, you name it. For those people that don't comply with the changes, this allows us to kind of have a way of enforcing.
Okay. Are you satisfied with the progress you guys are making?
Yes, we've been working very well with our advisors, CK and Associates, to come up with a plan that's we're able to implement and result.
Any questions?
Only-
You do? Coach?
I just would like that you would make sure that we stay in contact and be familiarized with what's going on. Be a little, we talked about being transparency. I like to have that
Okay. Yes, sir.
if possible. I'm not telling you what to do or what you need to do, but I would like to be involved.
Yes, sir. We're actually actively trying to expand the Department of Stormwater, so that way we have somebody that's going to be fully in charge of it and that can really take it and develop that plan. So that way, we can work with, DEQ, EPA, anybody that's going to come in to make sure we're in compliance.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Is there anything that we have in place to where if DEQ, EPA, any other government agency comes to us with, we're having issues with any of our utility projects, be it wastewater, be it stormwater, be it water, do we have anything in place to where the administration can advise the council of those issues that are taking place, rather than, Gavin does a fantastic job giving his reports monthly, but obviously if something like that were to happen, we'd like to be aware of it before a monthly report.
Anything of an emergency status that may need immediate reaction or immediate action, obviously that's something we would do a mass email to the entire council. So these are one of the things that as they develop, we get, and usually these items are not something that's taken care of in a day or so. So usually it takes us a good time to get all this information and comply with all these regulations. And so this is the reason why we kind of put them in the monthly report.
Sure.
But if there isn't any kind of emergency action that requires us to have immediate action, and to be honest, we have a situation occurring around the nation. So we're very cautious of what's happening, and anything that may affect us directly in the parish, we're prepared to let y'all know immediately if that's the case. So anything that requires that immediate action, we'll certainly get that out in a blast email.
Certainly. And again, we appreciate that openness, because even though there's a separation of powers, administrative and legislative, as we stand here, we are the boots on the ground. We are the folks that are answering to our districts, to our 15,000 or so residents. So any information that you guys have that's developing, emergency or even just things that the public needs to know, shoot those to us so that we can share with our people. The worst thing we have in this parish, are rumor pages that dispel incorrect, inaccurate, and intentionally fraudulent information about people and about practices that are taking place in the parish. And there's no way for council members to dispel those false rumors, without your assistance. Because you guys are the ones that are getting the calls, making those actions, taking those actions. And it needs to be a partnership between us. We really want to work with you. And I think you really want to work with us, okay? But we need that openness and that communication so we can get rid of these disgusting rumor pages that are out there, the little trolls that walk around thinking that they can say things about folks and giggle about them, and challenge them. It's about time that we as government take back the honesty when it comes to reporting what's taking place in this parish. Okay. And I know we can work together and do it, but again, it's to get rid of the trolls.
Yeah.
And I call them trolls because that's what they are. They hide behind a computer screen and they make false allegations. And it's about time that we start fighting back.
And if that happens, what I would suggest, and what makes us nervous as an administration, is releasing parts and bits of information. And so what we do is, on these monthly meetings, we try to make sure we review what we're presenting, so that we have a full picture and accurate.
Sure.
And so that we're able to answer any questions. My fear is releasing bits and pieces of information, and we have a development of opinions and course of action or movement or direction that is not fully researched, due diligence is not done, and so that's why we're cautious about letting just bits and pieces of information out. Now, one of those things is just, is saying, social media is its own animal. But with that being said, is just to refer to your constituents and say, hey, the reason why we're getting monthly reports, and if you would be patient, that monthly report is requested. Now, what we would request from an administration standpoint is that any particular item that deals with a particular committee, that it go through that committee chair. And that's just respect for the chairs of the different committees. So if it's a personnel issue, please direct that to the personnel chair, finance, recreation, so on and so forth. And that allows that chairperson to know and ask for that information. We're happy to give anything that y'all may need for informational purposes.
Sure. And actually, I'll give you an example that occurred this evening.
Okay.
The insurance agreement that you guys entered into. Okay. For 2 months, we were hearing, and the rumors were incredulous. I wanted to help dispel those rumors. Didn't get all the information because, again, Mr. Diaz explained, didn't want to piecemeal it out. Understood that. But giving some sort of data to comfort so we can relay that comfort back to the people would be important. Excellent contract. I think what you guys proposed and what we're going to enter into is fantastic for the people. But that was 2 months of inaccurate rumors that were being thrown around that I think could have gone a long way to dismissing those rumors had we just said, here's some of the information that's going on, and I could have gone to those folks who were concerned and saying, guys, it's working out.
Sure.
Trust us, it's going to come out. And I think that's kind of what I'm asking for.
If it's going to finance, just get with John,
Yep.
get John to request it, and that way it goes to the entire committee, and we'd be happy to do that. If it's bits and pieces, we will make sure it's disclosed and say, hey, this is not the complete picture. This is parts of information we have not yet. And I think in that presentation, you heard him, we worked very hard in a very short period of time to ensure that they had all the information they need. And that was one of those things that it's come up to the last minute on getting some of those final pieces of information to put together that presentation, have a complete picture for y'all in getting that. So anytime it goes to a certain committee,
Yep.
if we can just, as that committee chair,
Great.
to submit a request, we'll be happy to oblige.
And I want to say, tonight's a giant leap forward
Sure.
with that mutual trust factor. So thank you very much.
Are we still talking about stormwater? I had some questions about stormwater.
You are stormwater, Aaron Lawler.
Just missed out.
Dang.
Okay. I think that's all we have.
No, I had a question on stormwater.
Question on stormwater?
I thought that's what the agenda item was, but
You
I
bathing?
could have been mistaken.
You gonna bathe tonight?
Yes, I am. Now, I think this looks really good. The remediation aspect of it, I mean, I looked at it. I don't practice this type of law, and I'm not going to use my legal mind on this kind of stuff right now.
Thank God.
Yeah. Can we have a legal opinion? I just want to make sure that we are strong enough on the remediation side, because I find that's very important that we are able to enforce remediation. When somebody does something, whether it's to somebody's pond, as we've got going on in my district, or streams that, sediment just fills it up, I feel it's very important from the parish that we're able to go to that company, developer, whomever it may be, and be able to force them, without a doubt, to remediate that problem so we don't have parish employees in there cleaning out a ditch that we shouldn't have to be doing. I just want to make sure, and I'm asking that we get legal to take a look at this. I'm sure they already have. I'd just like to hear from them. I know they're not here tonight, that this is strong enough language within this ordinance that we're not going to have any, you're always going to have legal issues, don't get me wrong, but we're going to have a much better than average chance of winning when we go to enforce remediation. Can
Yes,
we get
sir.
that?
Yes, Councilman, we'll look at it.
Okay. Other than that, it looks very good. The other question I had, I think, are we still looking to hire a stormwater manager?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I know we had the advertisement out there. I wasn't sure if we'd gotten somebody. We really need that.
We haven't officially hired anybody yet, from what I know of, but it's in.
I know
the
we're
process.
advertising, and I know we're,
Yes, sir.
okay, great. That's all I have. It looks good.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much. Item D, update on negotiations with Ascension Sewer. And I guess we can combine that with discussion on sewer committee progress and ask Mr. Dawson to come and speak to us on both items. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I guess most of you know, because three of you, I guess, are on the negotiating committee, after the actual executive session, there was a decision made to actually have our attorneys reach out to Ascension Sewer and determine progress of what we needed to do, and mainly get information that the committee could consider. There were several updates, okay, that were given, I think, and just kind of so that, I wish I had my attorney here to kind of make sure he directs me to be in the safe place. But I can say that it was expressed from our attorney to Ascension Sewer that we were interested in getting to negotiations to discuss things. Their return response is they're very interested in working with us, that it's a fluid process, and they want to work with us to make sure it happened. The next update, basically, I think it was on we had one on 2/18, the next one was 3/28, that basically said that they spoke out also with Ascension Sewer to gather the information, and they requested a meeting. The meeting was then had by our attorney representing the negotiating committee on last Friday. An update was given to all the committee members yesterday, which indicated the progress as we move forward. In speaking with our attorney, we may have some information that we can go forward with as early as next week. That being said, my intent, my plan is to schedule a negotiating committee meeting next week so that we can actually have the document that we can move forward with. The instructions of the committee was for me to get those documents so that we can be considered, so we can move forward with looking at exactly what the proposal is, and then start dialogue flowing back and forth. I can say that Brazil, Sass, and Wilson have worked, very hard to make sure that they represented the wishes of the committee, and that they would do everything they possibly could to get the information so we can start. Everybody's interested in moving forward with having a document so we can start the dialogue. I'm excited about it, so I think, again, I will be scheduling a meeting. I will be reaching out to times for everyone. I'm thinking about maybe Thursday or something, but we'll reach out and make sure that happens, and I think that we may have something that we can consider at that point.
Well, I believe next Thursday is our
Actually,
council meeting,
Council meeting.
full council
Can
meeting.
we postpone it now,
Yeah.
please?
I'm not doing it at 9 o'clock at night.
No, sir.
Well, I'll look at maybe moving it to Wednesday or something, but we'll get another date, okay?
Fantastic.
Or before the council meeting, I mean,
May do it before
whatever
then.
would work for everybody, if you can,
Okay.
I mean, we'll accommodate as best we can.
Okay, sure,
Please.
sure. I'll send out the, request, get your input.
The status of the Hillaryville concept.
Yes.
I understand that we've retained an engineering firm to start looking into that project, start doing work for us on that project. Is that,
We've had several engineering firms. We had the Corps that we have looking at Hillaryville. We've had GSA looking at Hillaryville. We also had Quality looking at Hillaryville. And the reason is because there were several interests, associated with that. Quality was representing the developer that was doing Riverton. We also had GSA, who basically has a lot of knowledge in hydraulics and wastewater, so they assisted us in basically helping us with a design for the force main that would satisfy the need for sewering of Riverton. The Corps was there because, again, 219 funding, okay, that helped us with discharge to the river. And also, they worked on a project for looking at expanding a treatment system, which was started probably in discussions under Mr. Martinez's administration, which carried on. Ever since we looked at Hillaryville, the goal was to make sure that we maximize the potential, because we never felt that just dealing with the CDBG grant, which only dealt with a few locations, that wouldn't be, you know, we need to look at expanding the system. So even when we looked at the line for the CDBG, we actually paid additional money to upsize the line because we were looking at additional flow. Same thing what we did with the discharge to the river. Not just the 8-inch line to handle the CDBG portion, but also have the possibility of handling additional discharge. That was a good idea because we didn't know that Riverton was going to come on with 784 homes that we would have to provide sewer for. And also additional, there's another filing they're talking about at Pelican Point. I'm not going to even say what I heard the other day about some more possible development, and, you know, because nobody really knew about it, but it was mentioned in the meeting that I had. So, and also the DEQ always asked us to look at the possibility of running a line further down 22 and possibly even going into Sorrento, because we can assist with their discharge, and we also can pick up those lines along that way. So the goal was always to maximize that particular project. The Corps probably has a current plan of about 60% drawings that are complete, which started, probably at the end of President Martinez's administration, the beginning of President Matanzas' administration. So we're going forth. We met with the Corps recently. And again, the goal is to get as much funding as we possibly can. We did that in DC. You were in meetings, talk about maximized funding. And I can say this, we're not talking about, $500,000 to $1 million. We're asking them for enough money that's going to make a significant impact in providing infrastructure for that project.
Well, I thank you for that report, but I earlier this evening in the Finance Committee, we read through a contract that was entered into with All South for $25,000, give or take, to do some research or some work for sewer, for regional sewer in Ascension.
Sure.
Is that money, is that project guided towards Hillaryville, or what is that?
I think we have several projects guided through a couple of things. Another thing that we have to deal with is current commitments that we have for development to provide sewer. So we have a couple of projects. One is going to be on the agenda, I think, tomorrow night. We have some other projects on Highway 42. We have a hospital coming on 73. We have some other things. So we're having a need to determine what are we going to do for temporary treatment to be able to satisfy the commitments that we made for treatment. And we're trying to deal with that. In the last administration, they talked about possibly building satellite plants. They talked about building a large plant at Oak Grove. So we're trying to, from a technical standpoint, evaluate the best possibility to satisfy those immediate needs. So we're looking for engineering assistance to help us with that, definitely.
So that is what they're working on, and they're not, I guess what I'm asking is, their inclusion and their contract, no way, shape, or form, no fear that it is a contradiction or a violation of the cooperative endeavor agreement that we entered into
Right.
last May.
Absolutely.
Totally separate projects completely, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I'm telling you, and in fact, we checked with our attorneys to make sure there was no conflict
Okay.
with what we were doing with the cooperative endeavor agreement that we enter in with Ascension Sewer.
Okay. Like I said, you guys know, that's my biggest concern right
Sure.
now.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we do not, as a council, as a parish, do anything
Absolutely.
that disparages the name of Ascension Parish by breaching a contract for any reason, shape, or form.
Absolutely. And,
Appreciate it.
And I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Raise your hand.
Mr. President. You have something to add, please, sir?
Yeah, we had that legal opinion in executive session proving that any of that work that we had done did not violate it. So we have legal opinion that we feel comfortable with and we can stand behind.
Right, and I appreciate that. I just want to make sure that there are certain things we can do and certain things we shouldn't be doing. And I want to make sure that the parameters of the new contract we entered into doesn't breach that side that says, don't do it.
Sure, and that's why we had David Fleshman and the great people and Tim Hardy and
Great.
great people we pay a lot of money to give us that legal opinion.
So they've provided us with an opinion on what All South is doing, and we're okay?
Well, in doing that work, yes, they did. That was that legal opinion.
Okay. Just need to make sure. Sure. Appreciate it. Anybody have any other questions? Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dawson. Next up, we have an update from Ascension Sewer LLC. I see Mr. Baudier and Mr. Pertwee.
It's late again, gentlemen.
It's late again.
But I tell you what, we're running through this, the first part of this thing, so I think I'm doing pretty good directing traffic.
Yeah, we just came a little early, that's all.
That's all it
We
is.
came a little too early.
And didn't bring snacks.
Thank you, Chairman and committee members. Good to see you once again. It's been a little while since, I think, before Christmas. But thank you very much for the invitation to come and give the update. I did hear Mr. Dawson's update, and yes, there have been, although we haven't had the opportunity yet to meet with the negotiating committee itself, there have been back and forths, and the lawyers did get together last Friday. We, Jones Walker represented us in that meeting, and Matt gave us a report. And again, I think everything is consistent with what we've stated all along, which is we believe confidently that our company and our customers and our expertise and our investment present the best opportunity for Ascension Parish to have consolidated sewer. We are wide open to any, whether we start from scratch, whether we start from the proposal that we had on the table. There are various structures and many ways to approach this project, and we always believe that we've expressed the maximum amount of flexibility in that regard. Just to give you a mechanical update, I guess you'd say, is what we've been focused on since we broke up in December was getting our transaction with AWT completed. And so we're essentially done. There's only one final component necessary for us to essentially call the deal done, which is the letter of non-opposition from the Public Service Commission, which is imminent. It is in a matter of days. And so with that, we will be a new entity by name. National Water Infrastructure will essentially be the company, the new regulated utility that AWT sits under. We've had extremely positive conversations with a number of jurisdictions interested in also presenting growth opportunities for us. But also, we are extremely confident, though, that a partnership with the parish can be confected, and that it can. We also understand a lot of other conversations have been going on, whether it relates to Hillaryville, whether it relates to the individual systems. We looked at Hillaryville quite extensively, and through the engineering and really primarily the customer, but the engineering, function and the staging of the project felt that Hillaryville was more of a second phase project. We also had strong questions about whether or not Hillaryville is the appropriate place to expand treatment plants. We're trying to get treatment plants out of neighborhoods. We're trying to get treatment plants away from residents. We think that's not only a key component of what is the entire purpose of our project, but we believe that this is, there was a mention about DC in the HUD program. We actually are very familiar with what's going on with that program. One of our colleagues from Bernhard spoke at the President's Summit in North Carolina, where they made the announcement of the expansion of what's called the Opportunity Zone program, the Opportunity Now program. And one thing that is, I think you definitely need to look at, particularly with regard to the West Bank, is what they're now doing is taking all those federal programs, as Ken said, and directing them specifically to be used in opportunity zones. So what they're saying is if you get an SRF loan, if you get a WIFIA grant, if you get a project related to water infrastructure, the White House wants you to do it in an opportunity zone, and that way you get maximum benefit. And the work stream related to water projects is called the Safe Cities work stream.
Yep.
But an opportunity zone project requires a private investor.
Yep.
It involves someone who's investing their capital gains to get that opportunity zone benefits. And so, you know, we said from day one, we love to be involved in the West Bank on the water side and opportunity zone projects. There's no reason why you have to build a stadium or a building or real estate. You can build new pipes in the ground under an opportunity zone project and maximize your benefits. And so we not only are extremely familiar with those, but we have investors looking to put money into opportunity zone projects. And so we think it's a perfect fit, and we think we can maximize the benefit to the parish. But it's called Safe Cities for a reason, and one of the reasons is that they want to get environmental contamination away from residents. And so I think that needs to be a strong consideration in Hillaryville, and it's kind of the fundamental basis of the whole program.
Appreciate it.
But with that, we look forward to meeting with the committee. We look forward to sharing whatever information the committee wants and the lawyers want, and getting back at it and figuring out the best solution.
Super. Questions?
He's perfectly on target with what was said at the delegate meeting with Mr. Richmond.
Yeah.
Secretary Richmond mentioned the opportunity zone and opportunities that we'll have on the West Bank
Yeah.
for people.
It's Washington season. Ken and I were on a plane. He was going, I was coming. I went back again last week, whether it be National League of Cities, the Urban League, this was the Mississippi River, the counties went, Conference of Mayors is going back next week. Everybody's up, and this water bill is the big hot topic. And, you know, Garrett Graves spoke at one of the events that I spoke at, and he said, what's it called, the 219 is the
Right.
core project? There are only $90 billion backlog on projects. So he said, you might want to consider multiple options if you're relying on the Corps of Engineers, because they got quite a bit of mud to move before they get caught up with their backlog. But I think they're all going to require multiple sources. And he said, you know, his advice was get the resources wherever you can.
You're dead on track with what you're saying.
Well, we're here
Thank
for
you
you.
very much.
So we look
Appreciate
forward to talking more about it, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mr. Bodier, real quick, one question. I know there's been discussion amongst council, administration, the concerns with the report that came out that EBR, the customers that you have in EBR can or cannot participate in the cost of any project that we're going to do in Ascension. Can you fill us in on that issue?
Yeah, that's not true.
Okay, great.
You know, you made a good point before. I've very much tried to stay out of rumor and trying to speculate as to what the parish was doing based upon what I read online and in the paper. I think there was some type of either misinterpretation of a story, but right about the time that we went to final, or that kind of final meeting, we did have discussions with Baton Rouge, East Baton Rouge, and especially up in the Zachary area. And the communication is the rates with regard to the people within the AWT customer base will be the same across the board. The expression that I think may have gotten confused was there's a question with regard to how those rates might compare to Baton Rouge. And the direct statement that we had made to East Baton Rouge and to Mr. Kelvin and to the administration there was that the rates are going to be consistent with the rates of Baton Rouge customers. But they were going to increase from what they currently were to be the same as everyone else in the Ascension system in Iberville and Livingston Parish that fell under that the AWT tariff would be. And so, you know, somehow that got misconstrued, but there definitely was not the expression that that some component of that customer base would have some discounted rate compared to some other base.
So in essence, that is a non-issue?
That is a non-issue as far as we're concerned. Yeah.
Okay, not a hindrance to moving forward?
No, not at all. You know, I think to be completely frank, the issue that really was kind of brought up in that context, and it's an issue that we've been trying to work our way through, and we were at the time, we kind of call it the representation issue. And so some of the public service commissioners raised the issue of how do we ensure that those people are represented that are not necessarily constituents of the Ascension Parish Council. And that is actually not an uncommon scenario with utility districts. Many times people get a little bit confused between the function of a utility district versus a parish council. And a utility district is a separate political entity, and quite frankly, the utility district should have its own board. And the board of ACUD number 2, for example, can consist entirely of private citizens. That's a separate issue from who the regulatory body is that governs their rates. And so there are many different structures, but then in other instances, there are representatives from the customer base, even though they may not be exactly from that parish, they can sit on the district. And the districts often sell water to each other, they provide services across parish lines. And then the other thing is that there is always recourse to the Public Service Commission by any citizen, regardless of they always hold concurrent jurisdiction. So if there were a citizen that believed they were even wrongly treated within Ascension Parish, they could make an appeal to the concurrent jurisdiction of the Public Service Commission to ensure that rates are, quote, fair. But that is, that was one of the questions that was being dealt with there, but that was being dealt with from the East Baton Rouge Parish level, and they were concerned about that, and we had addressed it to their satisfaction prior to the meeting in December.
Great. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Greatly appreciate
Thanks
the
for
time.
your patience. Next time, we're gonna make sure that we go ahead of Mr. Lawler and his Recreation Department, so that, that we can
not the chair of
expedite these
that.
meetings.
I'm not the chair.
That's okay, it was fine. We enjoyed being back in the building. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Jeff. Take care.
Good to see you.
Next up,
I get blamed for everything.
That's right.
G, approval to reallocate funds from Oak Grove wastewater treatment expansion to Riverton Force Main Project. Mr. Fleming.
Once again, good afternoon.
No, this is good night.
Good night, yeah. This is so basically, as y'all know, as part of our planning for the following year, in 2019, we had scheduled some projects, and one of the projects we had scheduled to do was the Oak Grove wastewater treatment plant, and we had attributed $2.7 million for that. And for the Riverton project, we had originally only budgeted about $1 million for that. Right now, Riverton is about ready for treatment. We have the design. 95. It's complete. I'm sorry, it's complete, and we're waiting on railroad permits. And this is allowing us to be able to move forward with that project, so that way we can treat the customers in the Riverton subdivision.
I'll make a motion to
Wait.
approve.
Hold on 1 second. Do you have any questions?
I have questions, but we can go forward.
You got a motion?
A motion to approve.
For the sake of discussion, I'll second that.
I have a question. As far as the Oak Grove wastewater treatment plant, I see that's partially for substantial completion. Is it completed?
So the way the Oak Grove treatment plant is not for the treatment plant, it's just for the blowers. The blowers were noisy going out. Part of the part of the plant that services the school, the blower package allowed us to get the proper aeration for both the current plant and the plant for the school. So it's not the same as what originally was the intention of the $2.7 million for the Oak Grove project.
So what was the original intent?
The original intent was to build a large plant in the back of the school, so that way we could handle additional capacity on 42. Right now, since we don't have drawings done for that, we are working on alternate, we're looking at alternate methods that would maybe coincide with a larger plan. So we're trying to quickly evaluate that. But right now, that project's not ready to go, and the Riverton project's ready to go, and we need to get that moving because we have made some commitments to that subdivision that.
It'll allow the subdivision to grow and develop and.
Yeah, to get their final and.
Yeah, and one of the big things with this is, the Riverton project is about ready for being approved for the first and second filing, okay? We have got to get the force main there to be able to provide sewer, okay? That was a commitment that was made a long time ago for that particular project. Because of the timing of things, okay, we're able we had capital projects. The Oak Grove one is not ready to go yet, so we're just gonna pull some funds over from that to this capital project, because once we get this approved, I can go out for bid, even though I'm waiting on the final approval from the railroad to drill underneath the railroad. That doesn't stop me from going out to bid, so we can expedite the time, because the last thing we want is not to have a committed time of having that connection when we made that promise to a developer, okay, that we were.
And then
gonna
people
have.
could start, yeah, they can
Yeah.
start moving into Riverton. And
Yeah, so they can start doing it, and so it's
Sure you
still
want
not
that,
going to negate anything from Oak Grove, because, you know, we're still looking at that process. If that's not enough dollars, we'll come back and we'll talk about the plan for what we need to do there. But right now, as far as the timing situation, this is a critical path at this point, and it doesn't negate anything that we're trying to do anywhere else.
How much are the funds that we're looking to reallocate? How much funds?
You see, we putting 3.5 for the force main from Riverton to the treatment plant. So it's a 3.5. So it's 2.5 million that will be coming into that for that project.
So we're going to take 2.5 million from Oak Grove that had been already allocated to Oak Grove, and we're going to shift it down
Yeah.
to Riverton.
Yes.
So what happens to Oak Grove? We just forget about
So
it?
right now, we designed for Oak Grove yet.
No,
So we don't even have a design yet, and we're reevaluating what we really need to do in the 42 area. Okay, we're reevaluating what we need to do with the possibilities of as assistance from getting capacity from another entity, maybe building a smaller plant. We're going to look at package plants on wheels Thursday, I think it is. You know, so what do we do to satisfy? Because the worst thing we can do is to spend a lot of money on putting a large plant there that we're going to be taking up once we put the whole lines in 42, go to 73, and go to the river somewhere. So we're looking at that. So at this particular point, the best path is to satisfy this situation with Riverton, and then we're still monitoring of what we need to do with Oak Grove. And
Managing and taking care of Oak Grove, is that going to alleviate a number of the issues that we're having currently with Bayou Manshak?
no, because at this point, you still got to discharge into Bayou Manshak.
We're still discharging into
You're still
Bayou Manshak.
discharging into Bayou Manshak. The only thing that's going to alleviate in that area is if we take it to the river.
Okay. So then, what's been the excuse for not moving forward with drawings or taking steps necessary to take care of the individuals? I mean, you're making a good point. We made
Right, right.
commitments. We made commitments to the developer of Riverton, and that's important to honor our commitments. But I do believe we also have made commitments to the individuals living along the 42 corridor, you know, living out there in Oak Grove. And I mean, it seems to me that, you know, 2 months into a new administration, we're saying we're going to shift dollars from here, and we're going to send it on down to the southern part of the parish to take care of one specific developer, one specific development, and ignoring the problems that we have up in the
No,
northern
I want to
section.
make sure, make you understand, we're not going to ignore them. I mean, we are looking at the need on 42, you know, aggressively. We just had a meeting this week on what do we need to do to solve the problem. What I'm saying is, once we develop the solution hasn't been developed yet. The most cost-effective, you know, cost-benefit solution has not quite been developed yet. So we're looking at what's the best possible solution, even the possibility of acquiring capacity in a system that may be already existing out there. So we're looking at that. Once we have that, we're going to look at the funding to see if we have enough funding currently in place to solve that issue, or we may come back and have to put some more funding to make sure that we solve it. So at this point, I'm not comfortable in saying that we have a definitive answer for the Oak Grove system at this particular point. Do we know we have to do something? Absolutely. So I'm looking at critical path, right? I'm looking at what I'm gonna have to peel off first, because this is a critical issue I have to deal with now, while we're still looking at all these other issues and coming up with the most expedient, cost-effective solution to solve the problem.
But again, is there any path forward to say that we're going to replace that $2.5 million at any time in the near future?
We have to look at it. I mean, and the way I look at it is that we have funding. If we determine that that's something that we need to do, we're gonna come back to this committee and say we need to put additional funds in the project and to make it happen. Additional funds into the program to make it work. But I'm not going to, kind of make a snap decision to say that I need that money now without going through the engineering, going through all possible channels. Until I feel that all possibilities have been exhausted, and I can stand here confidently and tell you that based on what we have done, this is the best possible solution. I'm going to stand back until we can say that.
Well, I
Okay?
appreciate it. I'm just letting you know, and I think you can tell by my questions,
Yeah.
I am concerned that we're gonna reallocate funds from one area that's already been certified that is gonna be spent in one area, shift it somewhere else, and then say, hey, folks, in Oak Grove, if you ever need more funding for your sewer, you're gonna have to come forth to this committee and ask for more money. Why aren't we having Riverton come to us and ask us for additional funding, rather than shifting money and taking money away from Oak Grove?
I guess, I don't know if Riverton could come. I think it's our responsibility.
That's what I mean.
To look at what we
That's what
need
I'm-
to do.
yeah.
So, based on our analysis, okay, and what I've done since the 3 months that I've been here, Riverton is the critical path at this point. We're looking at Oak Grove, we're looking at the needs on 73, we're looking at all those needs. And then we will come back with what we feel is the best cost-effective solution to solve those issues. Not saying that no one in any way is not looking at the current need on 42 or the current need on 73. I've been looking at it for almost 9 years, okay, so I'm very familiar with it, so no one. And the goal is to make sure that we also utilize the infrastructure that we have in the ground there. We have $9 to $10 million of infrastructure in the ground, so how do we better utilize all that to solve the issues, okay? But putting a line into a pipe that doesn't have treatment is not gonna solve it. So we got to solve the treatment issue, and we're going to come up with the best solution to make sure that happens.
Mr. President,
I've got a question. Okay, go ahead.
he gets precedent over you, he's president.
Yeah, I mean, basically looking at need and moving funds, and this is something we're working off of someone else's budget, obviously. And so I think we're going to have to do several budget amendments in a lot of different departments. With that being said, the immediate impact of the waterways and the man shack would be the $10 inspection program that we presented to y'all, because that would have immediate impact on our waterways, and that would help have an immediate effect in reducing our levels of BOD and TMDLs. So we can do something immediately in that area, and that's that inspection program. So we would love to do a presentation on that and move forward with that, because that would have immediate impact in that area.
Thank you. Mr. Robert?
Yes, sir. In speaking for my area of the parish, I think we could definitely use that infrastructure with the growth that we're having there. I think we need some more infrastructure, looking at some other aspects of the parish with transportation, different things we've spoken to also. And I mean, this is going to be a give or take. I mean, we know that. So if you don't have the part of your parish ready to spend this money, let's not just let it there and sit in the bank. I mean, help us out down there, and we'll help you out. When we get some more money, we have extra. Let's put this money to use, and let's get some stuff done with it. And that's
Mr.
bringing more
Lawrence?
tax base in as soon as we do that, anyways, to put more money into it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've been thinking about this, looking at it. Part of my concern is we've had the growth in the northern part of the parish. It's there, it's already happened, and we're pulling money away that we need up there. And, why hasn't the work been done? I'm not really sure. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to put the money down in another part to encourage growth, and we're going to put more growth down there, which, that what I'm seeing is we're going to new growth, and we're going to help this area grow, and we're going to help new subdivisions down there. Why do we have an obligation to connect Riverton as it is? Why isn't the developer doing that?
The developer is putting money toward the whole process. I mean, we're still getting the development fees, which is $2,500 a lot. They're also going to be responsible for spending a significant amount of money for their pumping station that connects into the force main.
Well, this
So-
just seems like we're just helping a developer, sending more money down to a developer and helping them grow.
Well,
I mean, that's what it is. We're saying, hey, let's go help them grow. We've already had the growth. We need the help. I'd like to say, hey, keep the money where it is and let us do the plans that we need to do to get it done. Because from what I've heard, since the new administration has come in, there's not a lot of interest in doing sewer down 42 or 73. So, and it's not going to be any time soon. So what we're looking at is we're not going to have sewer.
But let me just say this, okay? I have a 100% complete drawings. I have 100% complete drawings that I'm ready to go out for bid with on Riverton. I don't have anything like that on 42. Now, all I can say is that I'm working toward a solution that will solve the issues on.
But why not on 42?
Oh, I don't know. I just got.
No, I
2
know.
months. I wouldn't have a chance to do it in 2 months, I guarantee you.
I got you.
So I don't know. All I can say is that we're working toward that particular solution. And I think that maybe there was some discussion about the overall big plan that was going to take 42 and 73. I can't answer that because that wasn't under my area of responsibility at the time. But what I'm looking at to solve the issue of handling, same thing we're doing with Riverton. You got developers and you got growth that's on 42. How do we satisfy the immediate need while we're looking at the big scale plan that's going to take everything to the river? There's never been a commitment that abandoned taking things to the river. That's what DEQ wants. That's what the EPA wants. That's what we want. But I got to solve the immediate situations now. Okay, I have to solve it. Fortunately, over on Hillaryville, they got a discharge to the river. Okay, I don't have that, right now, dealing with 42 and 73. So we have to look at solving the immediate need so that we satisfy and make sure that we honor our obligations that we made, and we're working on that, and we're still working on a long-term plan. And it is difficult, but I just want to make sure we honor our commitment that we made to the developers that are looking for treatment.
It seems to me, though, a vote for this is a vote for growth. Let's vote to have more development, and that's what that's what it is right there.
Well, I mean, these things were
I
planned.
withdraw my second.
Yeah, well, these things were planned. I mean, if they were vote for growth, they were planned a long time ago. I mean, Riverton was planned several years ago. So this is not anything that tonight that we came up and said we're looking at growth. The additional growth on 42 were projects that were done a long time ago. I mean, these things have already gone through the process. They've gone through planning. And so they're at a point now, if they get to a point of building, they have, occupancy certificates that they have to go in. We have to provide that. If not, what situation the parish is going to be in if we make that commitment? All we're trying to do is solve obligations that we're committed. I mean, that we've committed to. Yeah, now, where we go forward with that, I don't know. If that was the vote for growth, it was done a long time ago.
Yeah, but I think this would be different if there was more commitment to get the sewer plan up 42 and 73.
Yeah, one thing about it is, when we commit to these developers, going through the whole process, they go through the planning and zoning process, they go through it, they come back and say, okay, we're gonna do a project, and in that particular project, there's commitment to do certain things in sewer and certain things in roads, certain things in water, what have you, infrastructure provided. If we get to a point that we're not gonna do that, then we could be, open for litigation because now we're in breach of what we promised them to do. So I just wanna make sure that those initial goals and promises that we made, that we're satisfying them and we're taking care of, okay?
I'd feel more secure, but there's not enough of a push to get sewer down 73 and up 42. And so what we're saying is we're probably, that has been pulled back, and then we're pulling money from the Oak Grove where we've already had the growth. So it's like, hey, let's just,
Well,
leave that.
I can't say what happened
That's where I have a major concern.
I appreciate it, Councilman, but I can say that I've been having meetings almost every day talking about 42 and 73, and talking about sewer on 42 and 73, and talking about the long-term plan. We just had a meeting with the engineering firm to talk about.
I'd feel better if we had that and then we did this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's fine, but if you don't do Riverton, we're probably gonna be in litigation.
So we need to do it.
I
yeah,
think
we
you
need to
do it.
Well,
I don't
well,
understand
based
why
on what
you're
though? I
pushing
mean,
away
I
from
haven't,
development where we are. I mean,
based on what?
The development, we said we were gonna provide them sewer. We said they already in the process of going to getting the first plats done, the first phase of this done. So we said we're gonna provide them sewer. So if we don't, and they've already invested sizable amount of money in doing this project, and now we're saying that we're not gonna do it, I think that puts us at some jeopardy.
Well, I don't know if we're saying we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it right away, and we've got other things that we have to do.
And we may not want to do it with these funds. We could find funds elsewhere. But before I go any further, I know Councilman Robert has been chomping at the bit to ask a question, so please go ahead, sir. Sorry for not recognizing you sooner.
I have been, and I mean, in the spirit of what this is all about, this is money in the budget to be spent on a project. This money's gonna sit there for over a year, if not. I mean, there's no drawings for it, there's no anything for it. We do need, whether this is whatever reason that this was planned or not planned, we do want to put infrastructure for this growth. If we have an opportunity, we have a plan ready with federal funding, with different funds coming in. I mean, I'll make a commitment to help get some more funding toward that, but if we have something we can use this money for now, why sit there and just have it in the bank and not use any of it, then, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm all about getting more money, but let's use it while it's there. And we can get more tax base from this infrastructure, we can get more money put into there. You know, it would be one thing if we had drawings for both, or even close to drawings.
You sound like our last president. Let's get more tax base.
Yeah, that's right.
May I offer a possible solution? Okay, it seems like the concern is whether or not money is gonna be there for Oak Grove. I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing, okay?
Well, that's part of it.
Well,
Part of it, my concern is less completely about, hey, let's get the money there for Oak Grove. That's a short-term solution. My concern is getting the sewer line down 73 and 42. And that's where there's a lack of commitment there. That's what we need.
well, it's not a lack of commitment on my part.
I
I'm sure you
understand.
talk about that the whole time. Now, let me, oh, you got something?
Well, Mr. President, please, go ahead.
We'd be happy to get started on we'd be happy to do a study. We'd be happy to put together a plan. Let us know. We're aggressively waiting for this council to give us the go-ahead to move forward on developing a plan that we can produce a regional sewer treatment plant. We're okay and ready to do that and capable. If you want to go start studying, we can start issuing contracts soon and to studying how we put 42 and 73 and possibly a collection system there. Be happy to do that. Give us the go-ahead. We're ready.
But you have forgotten that the previous administration, previous council entered into a CEA.
It doesn't escape us from our obligation of serving our citizens. It does not in any circumstance, and we got a legal opinion that states that.
No, we don't.
We have an obligation to the citizens of the Ascension Parish to provide sewer and utilities, and we have a right to do that, a right, and we have gotten a legal opinion to do just that.
Sir, that legal opinion does not say that, and you know it.
I
That
know
is
exactly
not what the
it
legal
says, 'cause
opinion
I'm the one that
says.
asked for it. I know exactly what it says. I asked for it.
I asked for it too, and I heard it, and he said he did not make those comments.
Well, we'll have the attorney come in and explain the right of the parish to provide utility services to the people of our parish. Let's get him in here, let's clear it up for once and for all, and we'll be done with that question.
We tried.
No, we'll
He
do
didn't make
again.
it tonight.
Let's get him come.
We tried. He didn't make it tonight.
We'll get him to come at the next meeting.
Put him on at the council meeting.
No, I have to withdraw my second. I can't vote for more growth at the expense of the northern part of the parish not getting what we need. I'm
Against
sorry.
current residents, exactly.
May I make a statement real quick, okay? Because, let me tell you the reason why we were moving forward quickly. You can go through a budget amendment, which we had looked at going through Riverton. Go on a budget amendment to get the additional funds to do it. Because we were up against a timeline, the quickest path is talking with finance, the quickest path would be to come back to utilities and to see if we can use those funds for that project to put over here, not permanently. Now, what we can do is say we can have a budget amendment with finance next time to put the money back into Oak Grove. Okay, because, I mean, the whole thing was the timing to do a complete budget amendment to get the funding to do the Riverton project. So if we're saying that the money that was for Oak Grove, that you want to see it back in the capital project budget, that takes a budget amendment, and we can move forward in that manner.
Council Chair Casso?
I do believe that this is just it's an amendment process. I kept trying to figure out why we were reallocating funds when it seemed that the administration desires to amend its budget, or the budget handed to it by a previous administration. I understand that. And you finally hit on it. I'm sitting here going, why are we going through this? Because all of these projects have merit, all of them. Particularly the full faith and measure of Parish of Ascension and its words and contracts it enters into with those who are helping us, and others might say to our demise, to build in our parish. But as we heard tonight, people need places to live. They certainly desire places to live. People move from one place to the other. There are funds that come to us through this project. We passed impact fees. We have sewer impact fees. We are doing and have done almost everything we can do to slow growth, and it still happens because people want to live in Ascension Parish. So I do have a real passion to get sewer done on Highway 42 and Airline and 73 to the river. And I'm going to trust that we all want to do that, and that we are going to explore all the options allowable to us under a CEA that exists today. I am not challenged with the reallocation because I see it as a budget amendment, and it was a second way to accomplish that was more timely. And I think that may be what Aaron and Corey are kind of struggling with, is that had this come to us in finance and we were going to make a budget amendment, we were going to change it, we might not have ended up in this, in this place where we are. So, and I think I had seconded that, if I remember correctly.
You did.
So, being able to see it as a budget amendment, this administration being able to direct its priorities, which is this most urgent project, the one where we're ready, we need to be able to get to that, as I understand it, Hillary-Ville-Dara treatment facility, which we certainly, for some reason, dropped the ball on getting done in the previous administration. I don't know what that, I cannot offer any explanation for that. I know you're standing there, you can't offer any explanation for that. Certainly Mr. Quintmall can't offer any explanation for that. So I think we're all tasked with an unpleasant situation here. And I would like to see us see this as a budget amendment. I would like for us to honor our commitments. Full faith and measure of our word in Ascension Parish is important to all of us. And so seeing this as a budget amendment, I'm trying to persuade these other two gentlemen. They might not be persuadable, but I think this is something we need to take care of. I don't want to see us embarrass ourselves. We've had enough of that. And certainly I would insist at some point in the very near future that another budget amendment be done that restores these funds. And if Mr. Quintmall will commit to that, I will appreciate it. And let's see this as a budget amendment, gentlemen, and restore these. See it as something we will restore right away. And we're going to ask about it every meeting. Have we gotten that budget amendment done? Because if we don't, we're going to be looking at legal issues down the road, which I don't think is wise. That's,
Thank you.
that's my 8 years' worth of diplomacy skills up here.
In the long run, in the long run, I'd rather see the Oak Grove money go towards a sewer system, a long-term sewer system. That's the ultimate goal here.
You're all on the same page.
I know we are.
Okay.
I want everybody to get on that same page, because I think that's the most important thing, is we can go there.
That's where we are. That's where we are. I agree with you. That's where we are. Agree with you.
Any further discussion? Well, we've got a motion and we have a second. Is there any opposition? I oppose. So we'll take a vote. Mr. Robert,
Yes.
Coach Thomas,
Yes.
Mr. Lawler,
No.
Ms. Casso,
Yes.
approval pass. Next item, H, approval to reallocate $120,000 from task order number 4, Oak Grove Wastewater Treatment Facility with Hartman Engineering, to task order number 3, which is Highway 42, LA Highway 73.
All right, so there you go.
Motion to approve.
Do we have to do this again?
So the savior could, no, I'm just kidding. No, this is, once again, like we talked about, it's addressing that issue on 42 and 73. And, you know, part of, like we said, it's a budget amendment for the stuff that we've currently allocated. And if, you know, the project turns in to be smaller or larger to treat the need, but it gets us to an end goal without wasting money, we want to make sure that it's appropriate. We want to save as much money as possible in the end.
So essentially, Oak Grove is giving away $2.5 million, and today, that section of the community is going to get $120,000. Is that what we're doing?
The 120 is just for the evaluations. It's so that way we can look at it and see accurately what are our needs. How are we going to make 42 get to 73? What are the most cost-effective means and methods so that way we're not wasting money? We're not putting a $2.5 million project behind the school that, you know, we've gotten approval to do, but we would rather not have to have a sewer plant behind the school. It's bad enough it's in the front, and we want to work towards getting rid of it. But as interim, you know, the project, everything I've heard from the whole sewer projects, it's a long time. You know, so we have to work ways to minimize the cost that we're spending now to be able to save money for the future.
Any other questions? Discussion? Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
You got a couple seconds.
Any objections? Passes.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Objections? J, approval of substantial completion of Hope Villa wastewater treatment.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Lawler, second from Mr. Rober. Sorry about the previous ones. Any questions? Any objection? Passes. K,
These are the subdivision specs, and I think we have a PowerPoint on it, and I'll run through it really quick. So this is something that we've been looking at and need to have been working on for years. Originally, when the subdivision specs had gotten approved, it was always understood that this was going to be a working document. It's something we're working with planning and zoning to coordinate with. Right now, the goal is to be able to set up our parameters and minimize any additional costs that we can take care of with improving the quality of the product that we're getting. It is the intent of the parish, which we've seen through many administrations, is to combine systems. That is something that we are trying to work with the specs to be able to coordinate with subdivisions that are close by together to see if we can't start doing consolidation. we want to look at standardizing. We don't want to have 10 plants, and all 10 plants have different equipment and different processes. We want to make sure that we can use our entire systems. So some of the issues we have are each of the plant sites, accessibility, the quality of construction. We've done a lot with we're trying to work with getting more commercial grade products installed with your fencing. A standard wood fence doesn't work. It doesn't hold up. Y'all driven by them multiple times and seen panels falling off because honestly, some of them haven't been nailed up, appropriately. Little things like having metal frames for your gates so that way you don't have sagging gates whenever you're trying to get into a structure. Having the gates to swing outward, it's easier access. It opens up the plant as opposed to swinging inside where then it restricts your space even more. Right now we have some design guides that we're looking to modify. We're trying to make it where in the pump stations and the package plants, if we need to get a pump truck in there, if we need to get, a crane, not a full crane, but like a jib crane off the back of a truck, put a generator out there because they're having issues with getting power to that site. We need to have the space to be able to put it in there and still be able to move around and operate in there. For the pumping stations, once again, we're looking at your sizes and your locations, changing what kind of pumps are going in there, trying to require them to have some sort of smart drive technology that allows them to self-clean, remove clogs because it'll be able to reverse it. It'll be able to adjust the flow so that way it can kind of take care of, if there is something hard that it's trying to get through, it can either ramp it up or push it back. We want to require a bypass tie-in somewhere above ground, have it be steel construction, so that way it's not gonna break like some of the PVC bypasses we have. The bypasses would allow us, if we have to pull a pump, we can place a temporary pump in there to connect to the bypass and be able to pull it and still have the facility operate. For the treatment plants, once again, looking at sizes and spaces, some of the requirements, we're not able to get our trucks in there. We can't get sludge. A part of our permits for DEQ requires us to move sludge every 2 to 5 years, and that has to be documented. Some of these plants, it makes it very difficult to be able to get it out. We have to use alternate methods to try to get it cleaned out. We'd like to require some sound deadening space, whether it's a set distance from the nearest house, shrubs, green space, whatever. We're trying to come up with some sort of set parameters to prevent the noise from the blowers. Sizing of blowers. We want to make sure that they are going to be able to operate at max efficiency without being at the top end of their RPM range. We want to require all plants to have flow monitoring. A lot of these do require some sort of version of it, but it's mostly just through a weir system. We'd like to have an electronic version, be able to tie off of SCADA and be able to monitor it. For electrical, we're looking at we want to require 3-phase power, or at least 3-phase power pumps if 3-phase power is not available. 3-phase pumps have an ability to last a lot longer. You get a better quality pump. You don't have to worry about replacing it nearly as often. All of our controls, we want to have SCADA-capable connections. So that way, as we're building these, we can start tying them and we can see, getting towards the regional, we want to be able to see what all of our systems doing, where we're having issues. Maintenance is a big, important thing with any type of, any system. If you can monitor how much flow is going through, how many amps it's pulling, you can see whether or not you can predict a failure or not. We'd also like to require a generator hookup location. This would allow us to, in the event of a failure, a power outage, we can go in, make a quick connection, and be able to have that pump going, getting sewer away from people's homes. Some of the items on the miscellaneous are enforcing spare parts. We would like to start requiring them to provide a full actual parts list, so that way we can start logging and documenting everything we have, which is something that hasn't really been done in the past, and we're working on creating that list right now with the equipment that we are currently operating. We've been looking at maybe requiring a maintenance agreement with the parish, because within that first year, any repairs that have to be done should need to fall on the developer, and that's something that we have to enforce. We've recently started doing inspections reports on it, so that way we have a document with pictures, with everything that says, hey, this is how it was when we did our final inspection. Here it is at month 10, 11. Here's our deficiencies. You need to repair these. If you don't repair them, we're going to stop allowing permits to be issued. And then, so that's our main goal of revising the subdivision specs.
Thank you, Gavin. Any questions?
I just wanted to comment, I like the idea with the green space, with having the trees and shrubs around the plants, because that will make a huge difference in the noise. Kind of goes along with what you were saying with the commercial also. And then the 1 year, you may even want to look at negotiating 2 years. I mean, there's no reason that a three-phase system like that should have any hiccups within the first couple of years.
Correct.
You know,
Yes, sir.
and that'll give you that time to see it, catch it, and report it. You know.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll be happy to look at it. The main reason we did it the 1 year was because that's currently what's in our ordinances. So that's, I was trying to make sure we
Like
didn't-
anything else, you ask for a little bit more.
That's right.
Anyone else? Thank you, Gavin. You've got another one next? Commercial development?
Okay. Part of when they passed the revisions to the sewer development fees for residential, there's an item in there that says, sorry, 1 second, my tablet turned off. Basically, it allows us, there weren't set rates for commercial. It was always going to be a negotiable rate. What the intent is, we contacted CSRS. They evaluated the rates in East Baton Rouge, other parishes, to help come up with a kind of development fee rate. From that, you have the rates that are in front of you. These are rates that are all based on the water meter size. Because as they go in, it was, looking, even today I looked at some from different parts of the country, and they all fall in line. They all fall within that rough range of anywhere from, $3,000 for your smallest all the way up to $150,000, $200,000 for your 8-inch, which is very high, but that's the going rate, and that's a very rare occurrence. Most water lines are, for commercial is going to be, 3/4 inch, 1.5 inch, maybe a 2-inch. And that's kind of the limit of what we're going to see until you get to the industrial side, when they're going to be larger. Same thing with so that's with the development fees. The other part of this was the monthly sewer user fees. We had asked them to evaluate that to give us a starting point. And this is something that, right now our commercial customers are only getting charged $42.50 if they're getting charged. And right now we need to try to maximize this. So the way they had it set up is based off of, once again, your water meter size, and then if it's connected to a regional system. So somebody that would be connected to a system like, say, 42 or 73 or Hillaryville, they're going to be charged one rate as a commercial company, because as we've had a experience of, the more people you have connected to a system, the cheaper you can get it. And so that's why there's two separate prices on here for individuals that have their own package plant versus people that are connected to a system. And if y'all have any questions on that,
Does anybody have questions? Thank you, Gavin, for your patience and putting up with us.
not a problem. Appreciate y'all.
Item 8, Coach?
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second, there's a question.
I think that's it. Do we get to go now?
We adjourn.